We will wait because we're about to come back. Oh, we might be back. I don't know. He's telling me to be quiet. Should I be quiet? Oh no! Are we back? I don't know. Hey! Whoa! Welcome back, guys, to the EverCast show. How have y'all been? I hope you enjoyed our dwarf video provided by our wonderful Flatus.
Well, hold on. Is from Yogcast? That's where we found it.
Yes.
Proper attribute to the actual artist and creator. Flatus found it for us and suggested that we put it in there because the poor dwarves have now lost 2 votes
twice
in a row.
Why did dwarves lose? Your opinions right now. Why did dwarves lose?
Because they are
Go ahead.
They are the underdog. The dwarf motive is based around they are struggling against something.
That's why they lost.
Because they're the natural underdog. I mean, like the Hobbit movies are all about them reclaiming their home. Like if you look at the Drizzt, the second Drizzt novel after Icewind Dale is all about Bruenor going to reclaim his home. I mean, dwarves. This is what they're known for. They have to fight to take what they had.
You have an absolutely a great point. But I don't think that's why they lost.
I don't know about that with the dwarves. I would say that the Lord of the Rings dwarves definitely, and the kind of lineage from that has had that mountainous mining dwarf thing, which I actually took a class about the. Kind of the Lord of the Rings and the how it was a bit of like almost a creation myth story kind of thing for Europe, but how it also played on different kind of stereotypes, and unfortunately it's one that I guess I noticed it more than others. The kind of anti-Semitic dwarves were the Jews stereotype, and I don't really talk about it too much, but it's definitely something that you can see. It's the attraction to gold and jewels, and that they kept on digging and digging until they released a demon. That whole thing, and them being very much merchants and traders and stuff. It always left me kind of conflicted about the whole Lord of the Rings.
Right. I don't know, but that's one of the things I haven't. I could have looked up, and I will look up for our dwarf episode. Is that that Tolkien, when he was writing the Lord of the Rings, he borrowed from the dwarves of the Norse, from the Norse stereotype and legends. And so, I mean, as getting ready for the dwarf show, I'm sure that I will be reading a whole bunch of that. Say hi.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Everyone, welcome.
I would say
back to the show.
Welcome back.
Go ahead, Legendary.
I would say. Oh, now you can hear us. Welcome back. So.
Hi. Sorry.
That's all good. But the quick answer to why dwarves lost 2 rounds. You said the first one, Drizzt. So dark elves, drow, night elves, that whole spectrum, whatever. There's just fans upon fans upon fans of that. So that one, that one was kind of obvious. The second time around, we've seen Kerrans in game. We've seen them move. We've seen the at the keynote and all of that stuff. The actual Kerran animation. EverQuest players, I'm sure, are like, oh my goodness, maybe they'll reveal more about EverQuest by showing off this race that we already kind of know something about. So I would imagine a large, overwhelming number of people, far more than people that were voting just because of the little voxel cat. But that was most likely why I'm thinking the dwarves didn't win the second round. Next time around, I doubt the dwarves are going to lose, because I can't think of any race that they can put up that would be more interesting than dwarves at this point. Plus, there's so many
humans are pretty awesome, honestly. I mean, if we're talking about the northern humans, because that's where they seem to be found, it is around Halas. That, if you remember the really early concept art that they put out, still on the site if you want to go look at it, EverQuestNext.com, is very interesting. You have those high steeped roofs, you have those very Norsic kind of lodgings. That could be fun to build. Is it fun to build dwarf things? Is it fun? You're working underground, right?
I think with the dwarves, I think from a landmark perspective, it's going to present a huge challenge for people because you're gonna have those people that are gonna want, like, everyone's building outside. When you think of a dwarf, they're like, well, we're gonna build outside. No, I mean, you could build a dwarven tavern, I guess, but when you think of a dwarf, you're gonna have to claim in a mountain and build like an outside door that goes in, and you're gonna have to carve and build inside of a mountain and figure out how to keep it still look like a mountain on the inside, and then still have like pillars and carved out, like that prevents a big challenge for people.
Actually, it's easy. That was actually one of the first builds that I did back in the very early beta, the mountain that I had on Rebellion Dune. First thing I did was carve my own little space into it. It's actually not that difficult. If you there's a lot of ways you can do it. You can either paint the outside contour of the mountain with whatever material you want, copy that, delete the entire space, and then repaste the mountain terrain basically with what you painted over it. The other way is just delete out the entire space and then use the heal tool with the sphere brush and just kind of rub that along the edges until you restore the entire surface. But it's actually fairly easy to do.
That's what I was going to say why Dwarves lost, honestly, is that builders in Landmark weren't looking forward to building the same things they've been building. The character is drastically different from anything we've actually seen or tried to build on a normal basis, whereas dwarves have been something that everyone, most fantasy builders are like, yeah, I'll go build this dwarven thing. Everyone's tried it. We've all built dwarven walls, or we've tried to build into a mountain, and we've used kind of dwarven architecture already. And honestly, I know I said that dwarves would win against humans because humans, I guess, are typically presented bland. I'm gonna laugh pretty hard if humans beat dwarves the next round. I am. I really am.
Brass will Brass will walk out of us and we're just like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm out.
I'm starting my own game company with dwarves, and more dwarves.
It's an MMO about dwarves. Everyone picks the dwarf race, and that's it.
Well, Mead's been trying to get the rule in 3 strikes and you're out, and they want to get dwarves out, so...
Oh, no!
That is awesome.
That's terrible!
That is so awesome. Do you think they're going to show newer races? I mean, honestly, we know there's the humans, we know there's the ogres still. I honestly see those being paired up against dwarves first. Get through the list of what we know first, because SOE's always big about having their secrets to reveal to the press and marketing. And I don't think they want to reveal anything quite yet. Because, I mean, Ixar too. Ixar is cool because we've seen a lot of Ixar stuff.
Yeah, they did we've seen some early sketches of the Ixar.
Yeah.
See, and that's the thing is, like, I think that if you put the dwarf up against the Ixar, and I think that the chat channel someone had suggested it, that the dwarves would probably lose to the Ixar too. And for the same reasons that we've all thrown in there. One, we've been building underground already, and we're kind of familiar with it, where we're looking to move on to other things. 2, dwarves are very familiar to us, and not their structures, but just they're not new and sexy, and but yeah. So should I change the title? Should we change this to dwarves now?
What? Are you kidding me? No, let's go back to cats because dwarves didn't win, and they're going to be out anyways. I mean,
no.
Humans are going to win next time, then it'll be dwarves versus Ixars. Ixars will win.
Do we even know what the next poll is?
Last race.
We don't.
No, we don't.
But, no, we have no idea.
And I'd be surprised if we see something about the next round of voting before SOE Live.
No, it'll be after. I imagine the Kerrans will keep us busy until, I mean, how many weeks away is it now? SOE Live?
2.
2 weeks away?
18 days, something like that.
2.5, whatever. But yeah, so I wouldn't expect too much. And of course, our reveal or prediction episode will be in 2 weeks to the date. We'll have a lot more info before we kind of end the cast, but it's one you're not going to want to miss, absolutely. So let's continue our discussion of the Kerrans. Do we want to dive right into monetization of kind of races, or do we want to talk more about the Kerrans themselves and their spiritual life? Can we imagine them being certain kind of classes right off the bat that are available to them because of how they worship? Are they going to be kind of the druids that we see in the beginning? Is it going to be easier to be a Kerran druid than, say, a human druid because of their race and how it's acclimated to nature? What do you guys want to
take?
I hope we stay away from...
Here's a question. From EverQuest 1 and 2, were there druids that had the animal shape-shifting sort of abilities, or were they... Okay.
EverQuest 2, definitely.
what purpose would that serve for a Kerran? You're already top of the animal food chain. Like, why would you shift into a different form?
I'm a deer.
Well, it's funny that you say that because looking at the race,
right?
The 3 races the 4 races that can be druids in Warcraft: Tauren, which are basically minotaurs, which are basically bull people; Worgen, which are your dog people; and your troll, and then Night Elf. So 2 of the 4 are already like a sort of an animal shape change race.
So pandas can't be druids.
Okay, so you got me there.
I can definitely see the culture playing into that kind of stuff, because we know that we're going to have to collect races in EverQuest next, and we don't want all those races to be available to everybody, classes, because certain classes portray certain cultures. So I could definitely see kind of more of a naturalistic class being used, whereas the dwarves might have something where they can utilize lightning, like Thor, you know.
Right. And I definitely see that like, if there's going to be a druid class in the game, I'm assuming, because I don't remember off the top of my head if it's one of the confirmed classes or not. But let's say there is a druid class that shape changes. I think that the Kerrans lend themselves to that. Because of their connection with nature, they, hey, we see the birds in the sky. Why don't we use them to fly? And the fish in the sea to use them to swim. Now, when it comes to fighting as another animal, that's where you kind of get into that sketch area. Like, if I'm already a big, angry, ferocious cat, do I need to be a big, angry, ferocious other animal that, the cat is already the pinnacle of like the hunting tree. That's where you kind of run into that, like, hard to imagine, hard to predict.
Well, I mean, if it's like a gigantic snail or something where you're spitting acid everywhere and you've got like telepathic powers or something, that's the kind of I could see a Kerran shapeshifting into that. But
what about owlbears?
Owlbears, aliens. There's all kinds of aliens in EverQuest 2. They kind of shapeshift into void creatures and stuff. There's a lot that I could see. Kerrans are, seafarers. What do you guys think about that? What do you think about the Kerrans, instead of being from a different planet in the past games, to being a seafaring culture? Do you think it lends itself well to being a cat?
Yes,
I still kind of want to go to the moon.
And because I'm most familiar with domestic cats, my initial reaction is like, why? Cats don't like the water. But then in getting ready for the show, like, I'm looking at all of these videos of big cats, and big cats have no problem with the water.
No,
Tiger needs to get something out of the water. They just jump right in. They swim. They don't have the same fear that domestic cats have. So I think that if they're going to be a seafaring race, I like that, because it gives them something that is unique about them. And it doesn't, like, you're ruining my immersion. There's nothing like that happens to me.
True. Same.
There were a lot of captains, apparently, in seafaring Kerrans that you would find as NPCs in, I believe, EverQuest 1 and 2. They were saying on Live Feature Rant. So that they actually do have a history of sailing and being nautical. Now, it makes sense, because if you're a big cat, well, you've got balance like a big cat, so you can go from place to place on a ship, no problem. I'm sure you can climb the mast and get from point A to point B really quickly. Probably even boarding, you'll be able to do a lot faster than other people, because you just jump across. You don't need planks or anything. You just leap. So I'd imagine Kerrans would probably be really comfortable on a ship where everyone else is wobbling back and forth. Like, yeah, I can walk just fine.
And all that tasty, tasty fish.
Fish are friends, not food.
I'm pretty sure they want the birds. They're going after the aviacs more for food, maybe. I don't know. Can you have cannibalism? Can you have cannibalism in a game like EverQuest X, or a fantasy? Like, if I killed a dwarf and ate it, being a human, is that considered cannibalism because we're sort of the same in a way? Or is it just messed up?
Kerrans ate froglocks in EverQuest 1 and 2.
No, okay, alright, so it's fair game. I mean, there could be a fish race, maybe.
It would be fun to do. I mean, like, the undead and WoW, like, their racial thing was cannibalized. So yeah. So if you killed something, you could eat its flesh, because they were undead. So you could eat its flesh to regain health.
It had to be humanoid, though.
Had to be humanoid. Had to be humanoid. So it was great. Yeah, it's specifically humanoid.
I totally macroed my cannibalize on my warlock that's undead, and so when she eats, it's like I'm gonna eat your heart out cake every time.
That's pretty awesome.
Yum. That was my other one too. Was nom nom nom.
That is how I trolled people whenever I went on the role-playing servers in WoW, because my normal server went down because it had a high volume, because everybody played on it. I'd bind a 250 character long message to every ability and have by the time I finish the battle with me.
Oh, we got robot legendary. Uh-oh. All right, so we're having some. Now you're coming through. Could you repeat that?
Okay. Wow, that was weird.
Why?
Internet has been fixed, apparently.
Well, it wasn't just you. It was
everybody. I think everybody. The whole.
We all went Transformers there for a minute.
We're
so
not
now
real.
that we're done.
None of us are real.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well. All right, we're back to normal. Go ahead.
I forgot the point that I was gonna. Oh, the only macro I ever made for racials is that I had. It wasn't even racial. It was a class ability. It was ice block, right? So you put yourself in an impenetrable block of ice as a frost mage, and it was macro, not in the face. because you only do it when you're about to die. But I eventually removed that macro because I didn't realize at the time I wrote it, because I was a noob, that the other races can't read your emotes.
Mm-hmm.
The different factions couldn't read your emotes, so I was like, oh, whatever.
Yeah, because I would. You played Alliance, right?
No.
No? Okay, never mind. I can't remember what Horde Speak looked like to Alliance. I remember the other way.
We've played both, but we prefer Horde.
Prefer EQ next. Prefer EQ next, but it's not there yet.
Kerrans, we know they're ground creatures, but they can live in mountains. They like the sea. Will we see flying being a big thing in EverQuest Next, other than the hang glider? Because Norath has never really had big kind of airships or anything like that, to a point, unless you go to like the moors of Yakesha or something. What interests me is gnomes. We have seen nothing of gnomes really. What if they actually take gnomes out of the ground? Because let's be honest, gnomes and dwarves both being from the ground kind of sucks. What if there are gnomish air cities in EverQuest Next? Because we did see that the tiers of the world, there's definitely sky zones. And while it could just be a couple zones here and there could be massive cities that we have to fly to in this game, really using verticality. Do you guys see that as a thing for Kerrans? I guess what I should say first, because we're talking about Kerrans, and then second, do you see that as a possibility for EverQuest Next?
Oh, they have sky islands. Why not?
I just imagine it's got to be the scariest thing to see a Kerran with the belt of the Zephyr flying straight at you. You know, claws and head not moving and all of that stuff, and then all of a sudden, you've got a Kerran on you. You're just getting mauled. What's gonna happen?
I'd love to see that as an attack. Smite has things where characters can latch onto other characters while attacking them. I could definitely see a Kerran lashing onto your back, and you actually can't get rid of it while it's doing the damage to you for a while. That could be really cool. Yeah.
Well, we've seen from their concept drawings that there is going to be an air realm, and it's going to be tier 3. And we know that between tier 2 and tier 3 underground, there's going to be a barrier. And so there's going to have to be some sort of barrier to get to the sky area. And I don't think
really needs to be a barrier.
I don't think that free flying is the answer to that, because then it totally removes any sort of flying barrier you have. You just, I mean, I suppose you could create like flying monsters that attack you if you try to go up too high. But I'm just going to guess, even though this is not the prediction show, that we're going to see some sort of flying, but it's not going to be free-form flying.
Really?
You're probably going to need something to help with altitude. Like even Ithiosar, he wants to go to the moon. He wants to start the Dragon space program, but he climbed up so far that he passed out.
He did, as he was trying to get to what's the name of the land? God. Where the dragons live. Sky Shrine. Thanks, guys. Why do I always end up coming up with these lore things? You're supposed to help me. He was flying to Sky Shrine, and he was like gasping for breath, running out of energy to try and get there. You're right. So altitude's probably going to be the limiting factor.
I mean, I remember like Tim was saying, those barriers are there for a purpose, because they kept saying that tier 3 level would be like your raid boss almost. Like if you're going down to a tier 3 area, you bring friends, yeah, because that is not something you don't go down to tier 3 by yourself, because you're not going to come out alive. So if you're going up to we would guess something like on a tier 3 island is going to be something like a dragon peering down, because that's where it's roosting. If it's sort of like air dragon or whatever, I'm just gonna pull that out of the sky, and that's where it is. So you're gonna need to figure out a way to get up there. Is it like a jumping puzzle, or you have to, or there's a certain prerequisite you have to meet, or is there somebody you talk to? It's like, hey, to get up there, you got to talk to this guy, and he gets you up to the dragon. There's got to be something.
Yeah, like tiers of content. Like the deeper you go, the stronger the mobs. The higher you go, the stronger the mobs.
The lower you go.
You can fly up and attack the dragons maybe one day, and it's not even limited by quest content. It's limited by the fact that if you have enough resources to actually get up there or not.
Yeah, and then it also comes into play too. Like, do you really want flying mounts? PvP players would say no because it ruins PvP and.
And that's funny, because that's the first thing I went to. Is like, no, because then they're like on PvP servers, there is no PvP, because everybody just mounts and flies away.
Why can't we have combat in the air nowadays?
Actually,
why can't on a flying mount I attack another player?
Because I suck when you make it 3-dimension. That's why I hate
it. Tough, but PlanetSide 2 has flying vehicles, and they can kind of do it. What if you had some kind of radar tracker that showed the enemy behind you, so you could turn around? What if that's a risk you took going in the air? Was that dragons would come and attack you to fight them off while
please
flying?
No, just please
I honestly think what's going to happen is, if there's this big thing where everybody's flying around everywhere, sure, you can fly, and there's not going to be a lot of air traffic. You can get around from point A to point B, might not even be able to attack people. But the points of interest aren't in the air, they're on the ground. True. You're not going to be able to mine the ground, mine some fancy stuff, access an altar, kill some fancy creature with fancy loot from the air. You're going to have to touch down. And so while you're going to have that visibility and see what's going on, with H1Z1, when you're going to see trees being chopped down and falling over further than you're actually going to see the character models. I'd imagine you're going to see the effects of battle going on in the distance before you'd actually see the models drawing, or anything more than like the lowest level of detail version. So it's probably going to be, I would see some amount of people flying around into space, and if they can see something going on, maybe descending and doing something there. But open kind of flying and stuff, I doubt we're going to see that for a while. I would imagine our mounts are even going to have a stamina system, so there's only so far we're going to be able to go with them.
That's a good idea.
That is actually a great idea.
Needs water, and I need to get water.
H1Z1
has great body mechanics, and sandbox games typically revolve around that kind of idea, right? And EverQuest is supposed to be the biggest sandbox, so does that mean I'm going to have to eat as a character? Do I have to keep my mounts fed?
Well, even that's a great way to limit how high, if you do have a flying mount and you want to create that tier where people can't just fly to it because you want to keep it like exclusive content, then you just add a fatigue bar to your animal, right? So so they can fly, only so far before they have to land and rest, and you just make that distance that they can travel. They can't travel straight up and get to where they need to go without, certain items to it that would allow them to get to that tier 3, the same way that they'd have to equip items to get low enough to get into tier 3 underground. I think that's a great idea.
Sure, maybe you have to level up your pet or something like that, like you do
or just
else, or you're right.
Just equip something that makes it so that you can fly further, and then just make whatever's in the sky that distance.
Yeah.
And that's just speculation. They're just guessing.
They know what they're doing. I trust them. I think they wouldn't have put tiers in if they didn't know what they had planned.
But then why don't they tell us?
I really want to see kind of a steampunkish gnome creation in the air. I want to see airships flying around. Do you guys not?
No. And we are totally.
I like those.
And then Flatus and I are, Shweta and I were just when I think of gnomes, I think of like, you have the Fae, and then you have the gnomes, and the gnomes are more like the brownies, in that they're Sylvan.
But you gotta go with the Norath gnome now. No, you have to a point, don't you? Because that's the game. That's the world we're in now.
Well, no, because I just got to be dragged along because that's what everybody else is doing.
We'll keep dragging you along.
I was gonna say, like in EverQuest 2, didn't the gnomes have a racial where like their racial was like you had like a little, you could transform into like a little floating like helicopter or something like that, like it just float around.
I don't know if it's racial, but they do have a lot of things. They do Tinkerfest. I mean, it is very
no, but I really do think there was like a little racial where you could like it was faster than your walking speed.
I don't remember. I never really played a gnome.
Well, see, it was like you remember as like a teenager reading the EverQuest, the Dragonlance novels, and the gnomes in those books were very the tinkerers, the builders. Yeah. And you know, even in Vanguard, they didn't have the same sort of mechanical aptitude where they were building machines, but they were basically crystal focused, and so they were not Sylvan Fae type races. They were, you know, and the reason why I oppose to gnomes being like that sort of thing is it because there's like dwarf, and then it's like gnomes are just a sliver of what a dwarf is Instead of being like the digger underground that likes to smith thing, the gnome is the digger underground that likes to make mechanical things. And I think that
I see them as a cousin, basically, is that the dwarves, they're bigger, they're tougher. They focus more on the large materials, the tough materials. They use their brawn, they use their force, and that's how they survive. Gnomes aren't that big. They're very smart and very crafty. So the way that they survive in the world is by using gadgets and gizmos and that sort of stuff. While they might occupy some of the same spaces as dwarves, I understand having some race with a higher, you know, mechanical aptitude. It kind of seems like it's got to be, if it's not gnomes, then that would be the thing humans would be known for, is being the, you know, inventors and tinkerers of the world.
Wow, that would be interesting. Go. Sorry.
Iron Man, and it's totally fine. Iron Man was totally a gnome. Think about it.
What if humans are like that?
Not true.
That's really never been in Norath, has it? Humans being sort of an actual inventor type. It's always been the gnomes that are creating different creations. What if humans really are inventing airplanes and stuff like that? I don't know. It probably isn't going to happen. We're probably going to see more of a medieval human, and that's what we see in most MMOs, right?
Well, wait, it's funny. It's funny that in my when I was writing, right, and I'm creating a fantasy world, one of the things that I had to put into play was that the races that had magic and the magic users, they had to they bound themselves together in accord to suppress all technology because because it's just like the medieval knight that as soon as gunpowder came along, it was the great equalizer and it totally revolutionized the battlefield, right? Well, if you have the magic, do you want technology to rise up and challenge you? No, you want to control it and you want to oppress technology.
And those who don't use magic want to suppress that as well,
right? And and that actually became part of the, like, if you watch Legend of Korra, which is the sequel to Avatar. That the first season is about that same sort of thing where the benders are suppressing, you know, the non-benders because you have magic or you don't have magic, and if you have magic, you're at a higher class. But
I really need to see that.
Final Fantasy X. That was the story there
so
as well.
Good.
Bavel was the empire that they were pretty much suppressing all the empires from getting into this higher, like, magical machinery when they themselves were using it, you know, to suppress everyone else from being able to have it.
And from the lore in Norath, it seems to be similar. Magic isn't something that's used every day. The wizard is all powerful, you know, you don't mess with him. He's something, the Archmage is someone that you don't see on a normal day basis. When magic's used, it's used sort of as a perversion, I guess, a little bit. But gameplay feature-wise, definitely seems the opposite. We saw the class with the lightning that kind of shot out of it, you know. Can they keep a lore world where people want to use magic and keep it limited at the same time? I don't know.
Well,
I guess a lot
the
of
game developers can.
Off and then, yeah.
Game developers can.
Take different paths.
All you do is just lower the damage on the lightning bolt. It's simple. Once you put it in the game mechanics, it's simple. But you know,
but see, how did we get on magic? You want magic to be powerful, right? I don't know, but you want magic to feel powerful, and that way you don't want to limit it. Because if I'm just shooting lightning bolts at you all day, it takes away from the specialness of shooting lightning bolts at somebody.
We start changing lore. We're going to be talking about Rift here in a minute. Just saying.
Okay. Did we want to go to the monetization thing on Kerran's and races? Or...
I almost wish that we had taken up enough time so that we could bring this back up after SOE Live, because I think that SOE Live will see a little bit more about the monetization plan. But I think, so let me just frame the question so that we all know exactly where we're coming from when we talk about this. The first MMO that I ever played was a text-based scroller. They had an anthropomorphic race that had a tail, and one of their highest selling items that you could purchase was customized emotes for your tail. H1Z1, they've already asked the players, like, what do you think about custom, like emote packs that you have to purchase separately? We didn't think about it for the Dark Elves because it just didn't occur to us. But all of a sudden, the Kerrans are there, and we can ask ourselves, well, what part of the Kerran can you monetize? Because there are tail emotes, ear emotes that you can say, hey, this doesn't affect gameplay. This is all cosmetic. Are you willing to pay for it? And if they do say that, how do you react to that? What do you guys think about that? And not only like emotes, the Kerrans also lend themselves very well to having customizable color patterns, right? So you got your cheetah, your puma, your tiger. These are all very recognizable. Is there a price tag that you would okay with putting on that type of cosmetic?
Go ahead.
Sorry. I have boycotted paying for anything from Sony ever again in the cash shop until they standardize the colors. I am not going to pay more for one color over the other. And if they're going to charge me more for the snow leopard pattern over the panther pattern, they can stick it where the sun don't shine. I won't do it again.
Yep.
Period.
I think that's a very
so
point.
If they want to charge me $10 to get the skin, fine, I'll pay it. But only if it's $10 to buy the black panther and $10 to buy the calico and $10 to buy the tiger, or $4 or $3, whatever price point they put on it. If they want me to buy it, then standardize it, because I'm not going to do the whole, like, I paid $10 for that purple outfit, but the red one was only $9. I'm not doing that.
Celeste, are you okay with a very special edition coming out being worth more later down the road? So maybe like all the basic colors are the same, and then there's this very special edition for a limited time that costs more. Are you okay with that kind of system?
Oh, okay. So if they would have released the purple one and said this is the royal one and only landmark founders could get it, and nobody else is allowed to have that one, then then I would have understood.
Give
that's
reason
exclusive.
To it. Yeah.
Like, there's exclusivity in that.
Yeah.
So I would have been okay with the price being higher based on exclusivity. If they want to attach something like special edition or limited edition, or only 100 of these are going to be sold, or only 1,000 of these, or only people in this block can get it, then that's fine. Charge more for the special one, and I'm okay with that. But don't tell me that the black cat is worth more than the white cat, or the orange cat is worth more than the green cat, because you can stick it.
I don't know if they'll actually sell different skins for the actual appearance of the character without any of their armor or any of that stuff on. I think they're probably going to see the same thing that we saw with DCUO. It's been successful with DCUO. You can pick the look for your character, what their skin type and their body type and all of that stuff, and that's free. The main emphasis in that game is all the aesthetic items that you can collect that increase what kind of attire you have available, because you're not equipping stuff and that's what you look like. What you're equipped with and what your appearance is are completely separated. Just so long as, if I've got a dual 2 melee weapons out, then I can only pick from something that has the aesthetic of 2 melee weapons. But other than that, I have the full range to do with, what armor piece I want, what, chest, what head, what I want on my, legs, on my gloves, on my shoes, for my cape, for my backpack, all of that sort of stuff. I have all that variation, and all of that stuff I can potentially buy my way into those things instead of finding my way into them. But the only things that are really exclusive are the top tier equipment, and you have to grind your ass off to get those. So it's not even a purchase sort of thing. That's just gameplay.
You said a point. I just want to reiterate it because I think it's really important, because we're talking about game design a little bit in EverQuest Next and how classes can be switched easily. So you need to be able to identify who's what class to be able to fight them PvP wise. So what Legendary is kind of saying, right, is that you have this armor, but it's sort of relegated by what class you are at the time or what weapons you're using at the time. So you have more to choose from in that area. Your armor class can have more variety, but at the same time, I can still say, hey, that guy's a tank by looking at him,
Right.
I can understand, and that's where we're talking about. Like, are we talking about the cosmetics of the character, or are we talking about the cosmetics of the equipment? And
equipment, I guess we're talking.
And I'm going to have to go to Kai Leston and ask about this, but I think that even in Star Wars: The Old Republic, you can buy special eye colors, and that's like. I mean, when you're at a distance, nobody can see that, but I still think that people are willing to pay for that because they want that specialness, uniqueness about their character. I don't think that, just because people can't see the fur pattern doesn't mean that they can't make it, one of those purchased items.
So in Star Wars: The Old Republic, there's one color of eye that you can purchase, and you can, if you buy it for one character, all of your characters get it. And it only applies to humans. And it's really funny because I actually only play humans in Star Wars: The Old Republic, which is really the opposite of all of my other games. I don't play humans in any other games but Star Wars. And it's white. They look almost like a silvery gray. And so all of my humans have that eye color because I like it. And it was 100 station cash.
There is a fine line for me if we're talking about appearance on characters, not just items. As long as the items kind of show what it is, I don't really care so much. And I can color items all I can. But when I create a race, I hate exclusivity in creations of races. In EverQuest 2, they introduced the vampire race, and they locked it to monetization. And I never got it because of that. It bothered me that I couldn't necessarily play a vampire because I had to pay more. I didn't enjoy that.
See, and that's where I draw the line, and that's where I say that, like, hey, if you want to make, this particular color, like red-haired humans, okay, we're going to say that red-haired humans are so attractive that we're going to lock that behind a paywall. You have to pay to have red hair on your character. I'm okay with that because you still have the ability to play a human. I think that once you put the race behind a paywall, that's where I draw a little bit of the I don't particularly care for that.
Here's how I look at it. You look at a MOBA, and they're selling characters in a MOBA, right? Sorry, super quick. And then you say, oh, well, I guess it's kind of okay to sell a race in an MMO, right? Because you're playing at that as that character. Here's the difference for me is that when I choose a race in an MMO, that's typically permanent. That is who I am in that world. The classes can change. The classes are like your characters in a MOBA. That they don't really transfer to what a race is in MMO. And that's why it sort of limits my ability to RP and limits my ability to be who I want to be in this world because you're locking me behind a paywall a little bit. Let me customize it behind a paywall if you want, but let me at least be that thing.
Yeah, I totally agree. And here's the other thing to consider. Trina was just talking about MOBAs, right? And so that I've only played a little bit of Heroes of the Storm, which is Blizzard's MOBA, and they lock their characters behind walls that these are the races that you can play on these days. And one of the things they do is they rotate that day, or they rotate those classes, those characters that you can play. And you can buy access to a particular character so that you can play that on any day you want. And then one of the other things they allow you to do is earn in-game currency by doing your daily quests. And then you can unlock it with basically virtual coins. So basically they're giving you the option. They're saying, like, on this day, you cannot play this character because it's locked. Now you have two options to unlock it. You can play the game, and then we'll allow you to unlock it through the in-game currency, or we'll let you just pay us money to have access to it now. What do you guys think about that? Do you think that that's a good idea, bad idea? Because, and the reason I bring this up is because we already have a little bit about, that in EverQuest Next, because we know that it's all part of the all access. We know that when you pay for all access, you earn 500 station cash a month that you can do whatever you want with. So it's like, hey, buy all access, and you can unlock whatever you want.
All right, so I'm trying to figure out, like, yes, I have been spacing, trying to think of this whole, like, color retort. And I apologize. The only way that I can retort to this is that, okay, so I don't know how many of you guys know, but I actually dye yarn for a living. I own my own business. And when I purchase my dyes are actually based on the color that I'm purchasing. Hold on. Hold up. It's true. Holy shit. In real life, the color of the dye changes the cost of the dye. So as a purchaser, buying in bulk, the colored dyes run different costs.
But digital items, they...
But hold on. I don't charge my customers based on the colors that I use in the yarns that I dye. Because who's going to pay $18 for this one skein of yarn and $25 for that skein of yarn because the amount of dye that I used in each one is different, because the color of dye that I used in each one is different. As a textile artist, you wouldn't do that.
But you could.
Just because I could doesn't mean it's ethical. It's not ethical. Period.
I would say, and this is kind of back and forth with Pentapod in chat. There is the idea that you could, a lot of games have done the black exclusivity thing, that the black version costs more because it looks more awesome, and I understand kind of where that's coming from, but at the same time, it's because sometimes the not black version isn't as appealing. Let's look at Ultima Online, for example. Do I want to have regular plate mail or do I want to have black plate mail? I want to have black plate mail. It looks more different. It looks more exclusive. It makes me look like the Dark Knight. Of course I would want to have the black plate. Likewise, I don't want to have it because I know I'm going to get ganked and have it get taken off of me real quickly. That was the reason why you don't wear black plate armor. Or if you did, you wore it with your group of other people wearing black plate armor so you don't get ganked, all solo out in the world. Now, the other example, and this is one that I had actually brought up in chat there, the Scales camo in PlanetSide 2, I believe that was a Player Studio camo, and the initial iteration of it that was released, the default version, it looks alright, but the black and white version, the black and gray version, it looks awesome, and it is especially one of the earliest versions of a black and gray camo that we actually saw in the game. So it was able to sell like hotcakes, and they actually were able to sell more. Even though it had a higher price, I believe they were able to sell more of it because it was just the appearance of it. It just looked that much more awesome than everything else that was around. So all things being equal, if the black version and the yellow version of an outfit look just as awesome, then I can see no reason why to charge otherwise. But I understand, and I'm not saying I necessarily agree with it, but I understand why a company would be willing to charge more for the black version, specifically because it looks better than the other one. But likewise, the point that Pentapod brought up there, then SOE doesn't want people wearing all the same color because it's the most awesome looking one. They price everything, or want to price everything the same price to, if I'm not mistaken, to make sure everybody gets access to it, that they can wear what color they want to. Maybe I'm reading that wrong, but I think that's kind of the plan here.
She also said, because my point, and I don't know if Kyla's point is the same in this regard, yeah, sorry, Flatus, is the fact that it seems like very little work is done, right? Very little work is done.
We gotta pass the mic.
So why should it be more money? We should pass the mic. But I am.
We should, but it's not happening.
And I guess the point is, she said that sometimes tinting things can be just as difficult as changing a model. And does it really matter other than the personal consumer? Is there a big effect from them doing this? Like, it's still appearance. It's not affecting gameplay. Maybe it takes you off to a point, but will it keep you from buying a different item in the game? Will it keep the majority of people from buying a different item in the game? That's important to say. And Flatus, go.
I forgot. I'm just kidding. That would suck, right? Like all this time, I forgot. No, what I was gonna say, because I actually missed out on the first thing, and then Tanlin changed topics real quick, so I'm gonna talk about both. The first thing, and it'll lead into both of them. the monetization of colors. The best way to, for me, from the player standpoint, is if it takes more time to physically create the item, charge based on that. Don't charge based on color swap at all. Don't ever charge, because this shirt comes in pink and pink's 900 station cash, and you can also get it in yellow, and yellow 700. If physically it took more work to make pink for whatever reason, then I can understand that. But it's hard to say, like, I can understand where it's hard to say, like, well, this took more time to work on than this one. If it's just a color swap and it's easy to do, fine, charge the same price for it. If it takes more work to create something, charge more for that. But it's all based on time. Your time is money. So if you have an artist working on something and they put in a week's worth of time, charge based on that week's worth of time. But if it takes him 15 minutes to do something, and he can color swap it out a bunch of times, don't charge different prices for each color swap based on, because black's going to be more of a popular color over yellow. That's not fair to somebody. Or switch your system and go to the Guild Wars 2 dyeing system. Sell the item on the thing and let me dye it myself. It's completely free to dye things in Guild Wars 2. I mean, choose the battle you want to choose. So
I would actually be incredibly okay with that.
So would I. I would absolutely be okay with that. You don't have to buy dye. I mean, you could buy I think you could buy special dyes in Guild Wars 2, but I think you can just dye items yourself. You can dye it all black, any color you want. So.
No. See that in Guild Wars 2, some of the special dyes are in the lock chests.
Chests. Yeah.
So you have to spend their version of Station Cash to buy the key to open the box, and then once you have that, it's not soulbound. It's not bound to you. So then you can put it up on the auction house. And so what typically so in my experience, and this is I haven't spent a whole lot of time, what typically happens is things like the midnight black color that you can get to dye your armor, it shoots up in price simply because there is a limit of how many can come into the world, but the demand for them is very high. So that's more of an economic situation where where the players drive the price up, not them pricing it high. But I'm not the one who's going to buy cosmetic items.
But there you go. It's like, so the player that spent the money on the store for the key, right? Says, I don't, like you. Let's say if you get the midnight black, you're like, I don't care about this dye. I don't really need it. You throw it on the thing and you make a ton of in-game cash. You're cool with that because you're like, well, I just made a ton of in-game cash. Like my character's kind of set for a while. Everybody kind of wins because the guy who knows how to make, except for Kailash, she's not. She's like, wait, not. Because my husband didn't give me the midnight black dye, so he's in trouble.
I would
now,
do so. You know it.
So I want to bring up a game real quick that had kind of a funny system because they definitely meant it to be monetized, and that was Vindictus. And the way they did it, I don't know if they still do it this way, but the way they did the dye system, every article has a primary, secondary, and a tertiary color. You would go to the character who does the dye, you'd give her a bit of money, and she would put 3 random hideous colors on it, and if there weren't the 3 hideous colors you wanted, you could spend money, and she would randomly assign 3 different hideous colors to it. And sometimes you would actually get a combination that actually looks kind of cool. But for the most part, if you really wanted it to look a real specific way, because you had a group you were rolling with and you wanted to have everything unified, or whatever the case, you actually had to spend real cash money. So the option for variation was there, and every piece of equipment had a different set of colors on it, but the stuff that was available often looked really bad until you actually put some real money into it, or just got lucky with kind of a neutral kind of
That's
palette
awesome.
with it.
Gambling with colors, that is pure evil. It's smart though, because people are going to keep clicking that button.
Yeah, and legendary.
You can gamble with colors in Star Wars: The Old Republic because you can buy dye module packs on their essentially their Station Cast store, and it's like I want to say it's like 500 of their station cash, right? They're called cartel coins. You can 500 cartel coins, and you get a dye module pack, and you open it up, and whatever you get, it's random. Like you don't have a choice of what colors you get
or something.
And it is. It's just like a random loot bag. It's a grab bag of dye, and it's kind of neat because you're guaranteed to get 2, and you're guaranteed to get 1 that's like rare, essentially.
Reminds me of how they used to do magic cards where it was like you bought the booster pack, and in the booster pack there was at least one that was guaranteed to be a certain rarity to it.
Yeah,
we're not.
I mean,
we're
that's
not
most
nerds.
card games, right? Pokemon, you're going for the holographic cards, and you buy all the
We're
packs.
too
It's like,
old for Pokemon.
I'm sorry, I'm not too old for Pokemon.
If you're over 12, you're too old for.
Well, yes, I don't have them anymore. Jeez, and I think you pissed off a lot of gamers out there who love Pokemon.
I was about to say, I'm the guy sitting right here, keep my mouth shut, but I have Pokemon X and my 3DS in the other room going on right now.
See, I guess since we're running out of time, we should close this discussion. Let's all go around the room saying kind of what we're okay with being sold in regards to race, right? Because that's what we were talking about anyways.
Right. Yeah. And I'll go first because mine is going to be the simplest. I am not the guy that you market the cosmetic items for because I will not buy any of them unless the only reason I would do that is if I was part of a community and all of the community was trying to identify themselves with one particular like look. And then I would want to, represent my community with doing that. That when it comes to cosmetics and dyeing and stuff like that, that's my bottom line.
I will say that voice packs are completely okay. I love voice pack possibilities for selling. The fact that I can have my Kerran sound one way and then have it sound a different way when I use a certain emote always appeals to me. I don't think it's that hard to produce other than the fact that you have to get a VO guy in there. I'm also okay with kind of my armor being charged prices for to customize later. I'm not okay with the skin color of my race costing more. I'm not okay with the model of my race costing more.
I think DCOO actually has the best aesthetic system of any game I've ever played. I really love that system. You're not limited by your aesthetic, by all of these monetary things. There are definitely some, financial considerations if you wanted to get everything. But then it also had the advantage that by unlocking the different aesthetics, you are actually gaining more skill points that you'd invest in different ways and make your character more powerful. So there was actually a benefit to looking pretty and having every costume and every outfit. It was part of the game mechanic. It was part of how you're able to get more powerful. So, to that extent, I actually really, that's my ideal system. It's one of the best I've ever seen, and I really hope they go with something similar to that. Now, the other thing we didn't really get to touch on too much, like the custom animations, the ear movements, and the tail, and all of that stuff. I'd love to have that stuff. In fact, I'd love to have a completely different set of macros. I've got a fancy keyboard with a whole bunch of different buttons. If I want to have a specific ear twitch and like tail wag and like two other, just slight nuances that I can press one button and the character does that little gesture. That's awesome because I'm already building some uniqueness to my character. When you see that, some Kerran standing there doing that versus, maybe Flatus's is like a butt scratch and a yawn or something like that. Those are two completely different Kerran personalities being represented there with just a button stroke.
Right on. I guess for me, I just don't think like fur color or anything like that it would sell, but at the same time, I feel like you're taking away from character creator at that point. Like people should have the option like make their fur different colors and stuff, and have that ability. Character emotes, I'm cool with. Throw them up if you want to charge for specialized character emote packs. Like I'm cool with that, but. That and dyes or whatever they want to do their system for armor, dye system, whatever. I'm cool with dyes too, but other than that, you're getting too crazy. They'll make money though. They know how to make money on players. These cast studios, they've been doing it for such a long time. So
they got us to pay $100 for a game that's still being made and to buy items in that game while it's still being made. I think they're pretty good at selling us stuff. Yep.
Yeah, they'll be fine.
They'll be fine. We're suckers. They'll be fine. Cool.
All right. Now.
What? I don't get to answer the question?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you did.
Wow, she didn't get the die, and now she didn't even get to answer the question.
Go for it.
I'll rant less. If you must sell pretty things to me, please understand that I will not buy them if they are staggered in price because of color. I would prefer not to pay for the color of my skin or the pattern on my fur, but I would indeed pay for cute little ear emotes and little tail emotes that I could macro and begin to develop the mannerisms of my character further beyond what is necessary for the game to operate properly.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
All right. Was there anything left you guys want to talk about real quick?
Oh, I was gonna say Legendary should probably promote himself one more time.
I think you should too, and I definitely have some closing statements too. So,
Okie
go
dokie.
ahead, Legendary robot of the SOE Extreme streaming system.
Yep. So you can find me pretty much every day here on Twitch. Unity Daily in the mornings, and you're going to be seeing some Steam Daily too, so that should be a lot of fun. Sundays, I do Castles and Crap Shacks. I do that from 2 to 6 p.m. Pacific. Wednesdays, live feature rant that comes right after the Landmark show. The time for that might be changing a little bit pretty soon. Not 100% sure. As well, we're going to be seeing Dead feature rants currently on Thursdays, but from 5 to 7, that's for H1Z1. That change is coming pretty soon. Procedural Powerhouse is on Saturday, focuses on procedural games of all sorts, sandboxes, puzzle games, roguelikes, and all that sort of stuff, as well as I've got potentially a PlanetSide 1 show coming up here pretty soon. So keep on the lookout for that, and I guess keep on the lookout for my schedule if everyone wants to know how I can fit everything in.
Which we most certainly do, and I will definitely be looking forward to that. So, is it okay, guys, if I sort of tease our next episode a little bit before we get out of here?
Sure.
As long as you don't tease my information.
Fair. Completely fair enough. Alright, so next episode, which is 2 weeks from today, guys, it is our 1-year anniversary as a cast. Alright? So, essentially, we started off as a cast just bringing together a lot of people to discuss EverQuest Next before we knew anything. It was before the first reveal at SOE Live, and we did it with a prediction episode. Well, we're going to return to that format a bit, on top of sort of recapping things throughout the year. It's going to be a great episode. We'll have tons of giveaways. You want to come out for it. It's going to be a big hoorah, and we hope to see you there.
Yeah. It's 1 year. Yeah. Oh, by the way, so guys, also, if you didn't know, we have an email at was it EverCast, if I remember, evercast.show@gmail.com. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yes. Send us emails. What are your predictions? Let's hear from you guys. We've been doing this for a year.
Absolutely.
Oh my God, we've been talking.
That would be so much fun.
We've been talking for a whole year. Please send us your predictions. We can do
How
it in the
haven't we
after
gotten
show.
hate mail yet? That's what I'm wondering.
Oh my God, we just dinged.
We're gonna ding.
We're about to. We are about to ding. Right. Oh, man.
So guys, we've been doing this for 1 year. Send us your emails. Get involved with our show. Send us what are your predictions for SOE Live? We'll see if you agree with us. See if anything we've talked about over the last year. If you want to say thanks, or if you want to say you hate us, let us know. Send us an email about what you've been doing for this last year and tell us what your prediction is for SOE Live. All right?
Well, you've heard it here.
That's it.
Who
So
wants
Legendary.
to camp us out tonight? Legendary.
Yep.
You have to
We are
roar
camping
every time.
in.
So camp meow 4, meow 3.
Oh, jeez.
No, okay. You go ahead and do it the way you want.
I got it.
Never again.
We'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Thank you.
Camping in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See you later.